everyone, this is Erum Tasneem for Altenew. Welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. I apologize about my voice, I'm not feeling too good. I have 2 cards to share with you today, and I have used a couple of new stencils and ink sprays from the November release. I'm quite happy with the end result today because I was in the process of making these cards and nothing was going right. Okay, so I was going to use the square weave pattern stencil and ink sprays in Cosmic Berry and Lagoon. I forgot to press the record button on my phone, and so I had to make another background to showcase the technique. For this, I'm using the floral mandala stencil. I'm going to try this technique I haven't tried in the longest time. My art teacher taught us this when I was in class 4 or 5, I can't quite remember. It's this thing she did with the stencil, which to me looked really cool at that time. I will add a bit of ink spray on the watercolor palette and dilute it a bit because these are dark concentrated colors. Next, I will apply water onto the watercolor paper. I would suggest using a watercolor cardstock, a heavyweight one, so that it doesn't warp as much as my paper is warping. Everything was going wrong while I was filming this seriously. First, forgot to press the record button and then this warping, and there are more such things to come. After applying water, I will drop in the colors and mix them a bit in some places, which will give a very beautiful purplish color. I will try to keep this as light as possible because this is my background and I will be adding flowers to this. So don't want this to overpower the rest of the design. This works well as a subtle look. After the watercoloring is done, while the paper is still wet, I will place the stencil on top of it and try not to move it now. Place something flat on this, something clean and flat because it's still wet and it might catch any other ink or color from other object that you're placing. I have placed the watercolor palette and now on top of this I'll place a book and then a cup of paint water that I have. Leave this to dry on its own. I have let this sit for half an hour or so. Now I will remove the things one by one and then remove the stencil. Be careful because the paper might still be wet and we don't want to smear the watercolor. After I remove the stencil, we get this really cool looking, very subtle design. I will call this stencil impression because that is what it looks like to me. If there is a name to this technique, please feel free to share because this is not a new technique, it has been there for a while. I will use a heat gun to completely dry this. After this, I ran this through my Big Shot because it was warping and I needed it to be flat. I will get to this bit later. First, let me tell you about the stems that we will be using today for decorating the card. I'm using the Always There stem set and I have stamped a bunch of these images onto watercolor paper with permanent black ink. I will now use the same ink sprays that I used on the background to color the flowers. That is the Lagoon and Cosmic Berry metallic ink sprays. But this time I will use a more concentrated version of the sprays so the florals stand out on a stencil impression background. Alright, so back to the bit about the Big Shot. Someone here suggested I run the warped panels through Big Shot to flatten my panels, and it works. It really does. It has been super helpful. But today, because everything is going so right for me, of course it didn't work, and I ended up with these creases in the paper. You might not able to see this on camera, but if I use this on a card, it would definitely show. So now I had to go back and use that square weave pattern print that I forgot to fill. Till this point I planned on making only one card, and now I thought since I already have 2 backgrounds and one of them can be used partially, so I decided 2 cards it is. Again, since I've already done quite a bit of work on the backgrounds, I won't be spending a lot of time watercoloring. All I'm doing is adding water to the petals and dropping color from the ink sprays. If you want to add a bit of variation or interest, I would suggest you just add color to the petal and then pick up a little with the help of a tissue paper and it will look good. Would look like you spent a little time watercoloring each petal. I will color just one flower and one leaf in the video, and I will tell you that I did struggle a bit with the flower center. First I colored it gray, black, and then I colored it yellow, and in the end I just decided to add a more concentrated cosmic berry ink spray to the flower center and then add black pen detailing to the filament and anthers. For this I used the artist marker in black, and then I added white dots with a gel pen to enhance the look so that the flower center doesn't look like a blob, and this did make a whole lot of difference. I have die cut all the images with the coordinating dies, and now I will start working on the card front. First I will add a few splatters of iridescent metallic ink spray. The color of this ink spray matches that of the background. The effect is going to be very subtle, but it is beautiful. I really like this particular ink spray for the extra shimmer on the projects. This frame that I'm die cutting is from the New Day card kit. It is a gorgeous ornate frame, and after it's die cut there's this intricate debossed design on it which looks lovely. I will die cut this in white and in silver. Use the silver as an offset and glue both the pieces together. Before arranging the flowers, I will first add black paint splatters. I will adhere the frame with foam tape onto the card front and then figure out where I will place the flowers. I'm still just going with the flow here, no planning whatsoever, and this is why I'm quite pleased that this card came out looking great. I will adhere the flowers on foam tape and glue the leaves directly. After this, I will stamp the sentiment. Before adhering the strip, I will add a few more black paint splatters. I will cut the end of the sentiment strip forming a fishtail cut and then adhere this in an arched way. I do this a lot with my other mixed media floral work, and I thought I should try this look on this card since the floral placement is quite similar. The only difference is that these are stamped flowers and my other work usually has handmade flowers. For the second card, I cut off the panel and kept the good part, got rid of the crease lines portion. I will adhere a silver foil cardstock behind this panel and adhere this to my card base. Then I will arrange the floral elements with foam tape and glue the leaves down. For the sentiment, I chose You Are You. And before adhering this, I added a few black splatters on this card as well. I forgot to add the iridescent metallic ink spray onto this card, but I added it later on off camera. I hope you like the cards. The background does look great and adds such a subtle but gorgeous touch to the cards. I hope you will try this technique and don't forget to tag Altenew when you do share. You don't necessarily have to make an elaborate card with this background. Pop a few word dies or alphas and that should be enough. You will end up with a beautiful, clean and simple card. That is all for today. Thank you for bearing me in this very nasally voice. See you soon, hopefully feeling and sounding a bit better. Bye.